Hello and welcome to this edition of Back in History. In Back in History, our mission is to take you back in time to the events that occurred in the historical past. In this edition, we narrate the story of how Tafawa Balewa was killed in the January 1966 coup, which was executed in Nigeria. Tafawa Balewa was Nigeria's first prime minister. He was from present-day Bauchi State. He was one of the very important persons killed in Nigeria's first military coup. Senior politicians were killed, so also were senior military officers. It was a terrible moment in the history of Nigeria as a young nation of barely 5 years at the time. Tafawa Balewa was buried in his home state of Bauchi 58 years ago today. It is beyond disputation that Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa was indeed killed in the course of the first military coup, but the question is, how was he killed? By who? And at what location? There are many theories about how he was killed or how he died. A part of the theory says that he was not shot, that he was only arrested in his house with the collaboration of soldiers who were his close aides, and that they drove him to a section of the road leading to Abeokuta from Lagos and abandoned him at the edge of the gutter, leaving him exhausted, and that while there on the ground, he had an asthma attack and died. There is another theory that he was shot by the coup plotters, but the theory is not specific about who exactly shot him. There were 7 majors of the Nigerian army that planned and executed the January 1966 coup. They were Major Chukwuma Kaduna Nzeogu, Major Manuel Ajuna, Major Christian Anoforo, Major Timothy Onwatuegu, Major Donatus Okafor, Major Humphrey Chukwuka, and Major Adewole Ademoyega. Major Adewole Ademoyega has given an account of the coup in his book titled Why We Struck. The book was first published in 1981. The book is made up of a total of 272 pages. At page 101 of the book, he narrates as follows, quote, "Officers were allocated to their various duties. Major Manuel Ajuna and 2 junior soldiers were to arrest the Prime Minister, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, and the Federal Minister of Finance, Chief Okotie-Eboh. Major Christian Anoforo and 1 junior soldier were to arrest Colonel Kor Mohammed and Lieutenant Colonel Nebe. Major Donatus Okafor and 1 captain were to arrest Major General Agui Ironsi and Brigadier Mai Malari. Major Humphrey Chukwuka and a junior soldier were to arrest Lieutenant Colonel Pam. Major Ademoyega, 1 captain, and 3 junior soldiers were to occupy and control all strategic locations of the federal capital in Lagos, including the control room of the police headquarters, Parliament building, and the Nigerian External Telecommunications Operations Room, and the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation. Ademoyega was also the one to make the early morning broadcast of the success of the coup over the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation. He continued still in quote, "As soon as the duties were allocated, we all moved to the 2nd Brigade headquarters, where troops were called out and ordered to get into their combat suits and bear their arms for internal security operations. At the same time, Abeokuta was contacted by telephone, and Captain Ngobusi was ordered to go ahead with the arrest of Ladoke Akintola and Chief Remi Fani-Kayode, Premier and Deputy Premier of the Western Region respectively. A signal was sent to Enugu ordering Lieutenant Oguchi also to go ahead with the arrest of the Premier of the Eastern Region, Dr. Michael Okpara. Arms and ammunition were issued to officers and men from the Brigade Headquarters Armory. At 0200 hours, we dispersed to carry out our various duties. We were to reassemble after our initial task had been completed at the Federal Guards Officers' Mess, Dodan Barracks, so as to review our successes and reallocate duties for the 2nd phase. We all carried out our assignments and then regrouped at the Federal Guards Officers' Mess. Close to my heels came Major Christian Anoforo's group. They had accomplished their own task, having arrested Colonel Kor Mohammed. Lieutenant Colonel Nebe had resisted arrest and got shot. Next came Major Humphrey Chukwuka's group. They had accomplished their own task also, having arrested Lieutenant Colonel Pam. After that came Major Emmanuel Ifajuna's group. They too had accomplished their task, having arrested the Prime Minister and the Federal Minister of Finance. In addition, as they were returning to base, they saw Brigadier Mai Malari escaping from the attempt of the Okafor's group to arrest him. They, Ifajuna's group, wanted to arrest him, but in the scuffle, he was shot. The author continued at page 105, still in quotes, Major Donatus Okafor's group was a complete disappointment. They failed to arrest Ironsi. Ironsi then had the opportunity to raise troops against us. I asked Okafor, why is it that your own group did not achieve anything? Okafor gave me no answer. I returned to the main group at the officers' mess. Okafor came along with his bad news that General Ironsi had not been found at home when he went there. At this time, Ironsi was busy raising troops in military barracks against us. The news of Ironsi's escape came as a shock to all of us. If the Federal Guards commanded by Okafor were already made hostile, then the officers' mess was no longer tenable to us. It could no more be used as our tactical headquarters. He then went on to say, still in quote, at this juncture it became totally untactical to keep carrying the arrested military officers with us. The situation had become somewhat slippery and we needed to be on our toes. It was at this moment that those officers that were arrested from their home and brought to the mess were taken away and shot. After all this, Ifajuna, Okafor, and a few young officers left the officers' mess to meet at our rendezvous. They still had the arrested Prime Minister with them. Ifajuna and his group drove straight from the Federal Guards officers' mess towards Abeokuta without waiting at the scheduled rendezvous. Having passed Ota, he stopped somewhere along the road, took the arrested Prime Minister into the bush and had him shot. After that, he drove straight to Enugu where he parked his Mercedes-Benz car and bade farewell to Donatus Okafor. Then, a personal friend of his and poet, Christopher Okibo, was said to have driven him to the Nigeria-Dahomey border, which is close to Lagos from where he escaped to Ghana. He was later forced out of Ghana and detained in Nigeria along with the other revolutionary colleagues. End of quote. This is the graphic story of how the first Prime Minister of independent Nigeria, Alhaji Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, was taken from his home in the cover of darkness, driven round to destinations that may not have been disclosed to him, and later pulled out and shot. It was such a tragic moment in Nigeria's history. A dark cloud had engulfed the nation, and Nigeria was never going to be the same again. Several other persons were also killed. Tafewa Balewa's corpse was not seen immediately. Family members still thought that he would return unhurt. They kept expecting his return. Siege concentration was in Lagos, which was the epicenter of the coup. No one gave a thought to the possibility of the Prime Minister being taken out of Lagos. But lo and behold, the Prime Minister's body lay cold on the ground just by the roadside on the border between Lagos and Abeokuta, where he was shot and life taken out of him. The everyday people in the environment passed by the corpse without noticing that the lifeless body lying casually on the ground was the body of the Prime Minister of Africa's most populous nation. It was a young journalist working with Daily Times newspaper at the time that took a closer look at the corpse to discover to his chagrin that the corpse was that of the Prime Minister. The nation and the world then became aware of the cold reality through the journalist. The journalist is still alive at the time of the making of this video, and his name is Segun Osoba, who later became the executive governor of Ogun State and served from 1999 to 2003 at the dawn of democracy in Nigeria. The Prime Minister's corpse was then recovered and flown to his home state of Bauchi, where he was committed to Mother Earth. A mausoleum has been built around his tomb, and today the tomb has become a tourist site for Nigerian citizens and from people in the diaspora. Thanks for watching this edition of Back in History, and do remember to subscribe to this channel or follow the page for regular notification on every new video. I am your friend and host Ekeminudim, wishing you the best of time in all you do and thanking you for continually accompanying me on this mission for the discovery, documentation, and preservation of the historical narratives of Africa.